Relative to what's happening in the rest of the world, I'm sure in India, everybody's feeling pretty good. On a relative basis, I think Touchwood, India has been doing extraordinarily well. And I think we are all looking forward to the Amrit Kal that has just started for India over the next 25 years.
Would we get by like this through next year as well? I mean, will we continue the streak of outperformance? That is the question, isn't it?
So Sonia mentioned about the last 3 decades, and we always used to say earlier that if US economy or if the global markets have, sneeze, India has a fever. This time the world has got a fever, we are yet to sneeze. So we have come a long way, no doubt about it. And look at the policymakers globally versus the policymakers in India. They are so focused on growth, on ease of doing business, on ease of living for their citizens. And it's a coincidence that India is taking leadership of G20 at an opportune time. Look at the leadership in the world. I think they need India to have that optimistic view about the future. Given the geopolitical uncertainty in the world. So I say this, that the world is geopolitically realigning, digitally redesigning, and demographically diverging. And within that, this looks like a movement for India. We are that oasis of hope when the growth is slowing down in the world, and in fact the central banks are trying to engineer a recession so that they can have a soft landing. You look at the leverage levels in the world, you look at the aging population, and you look at the lack of the growth drivers and variety of other challenges. Look at the Europe, look at UK, look at what US is going through. A prime minister getting shot dead in Japan. Look at the developed world. We are not even talking about the emerging markets. And you compare that with India, where you are so excited about the growth, whether you look at the government sector, corporate sector, or the households. I think things couldn't have been better. Notwithstanding the valuations, a lot of this is also reflecting in the premium valuations. So in my career, I haven't seen MSCI emerging market versus MSCI India. India outperforming by 20% or so, right, Prashant? I think almost 20% YTD, despite the fact that global liquidity has shrunk.
Remained rock solid. SIPs, for example, last month were hit another new high. So that is a solid part which kind of is supporting the market, isn't it?
So you can take a lot of credit for that. I think media has played a big role. Our regulators have played a big role. Policymakers have played a big role. And so are our partners. And I think credit to industry. The resilience retail investors have provided to our market is something very new. So historically, foreign investors have always been positive on India for 2 reasons. One is that the macro story has always been very strong. Long-term sustainable growth story. At micro level, you always get, on a bottom-up basis, several stocks across variety of sectors to choose from. World-class companies, high-quality governance, and the growth prospects. The third element that has got added to that, to the comfort of the global investors, is the liquidity now in our market. I think the resilience, that sustained flow of domestic money, month after month, the SIP flows and the flow that come to other domestic institutional investors had added another positive dimension to Indian market. I must say this, in case you have not realized, this year, Indian equity market, Indian bond market, Indian currency market would be one of the least volatile, if not the least volatile markets in the world.
Actually, to be fair, if last Diwali, anyone would have told us that we would have had just a 5% fall amidst a raging pandemic, 4-decade high inflation, slow growth across the world, central banks hiking rate, people would have taken it with both hands, right?
And the biggest war in the heart of Europe since World War II.
And this huge energy crisis.
We can go on, absolutely.
But,
hundreds of basis point of increase in global interest rates. Had I told you this year, or maybe at the beginning of the year, you would have thought that markets would be substantially lower.
So, if you map between last Samvat and now, right, the consumption piece has done very well, whether it's FMCG, whether it's autos, and you're seeing it. You step out of your house and you'll see, especially in premiumization, right? Premium cars, houses are being sold. Do you think this is a trend that can continue?
So both, if you look at all the high frequency indicators, some of them you talked about, or you had the railway freight, GST collection, air traffic, so on and so forth. Or you look at anecdotal evidence, you travel and you feel that buzz. I think a lot of people say when they come back from Europe or other parts of the world, I think we get a little gloomy about what's happening in the world. But when you come back, you see a sense of positivity here. I think all the global investors or global visitors who have traveled to India. So I think if we split consumption, so let's say overall economy, 2/3 consumption, 1/3 investment. On the 2/3 consumption part, if you split between the urban consumption and the rural consumption, on the urban consumption side, because wages have gone up, and of course, there's a lot of pent-up demand post-pandemic. So I think we are seeing that consumption coming back. On the rural side, monsoon has been pretty decent. Of course, the spatial distribution has not been as great, but we expect over a period of time, I think that should also do well.